Hey, so good day everyone. In today's video, we are going to discuss a brief introduction of Flutter, and then we are going to have, at the end of the video, we are going to write our very first code with Flutter. Okay, so I am currently on the page of Flutter Dev. So if ever you want to have some more details about uh, the Flutter software, so you're just going to navigate through this page and read more about Flutter. So what we are going to have now is just a brief introduction of what Flutter is. Okay, so it is said that the Flutter is an open source UI software developed by Google. So as you can see here, it is supported by a very big company, namely Google. Okay, so it is a UI software development kit. Okay, so which allows us to build natively compiled applications for mobile app, web, and desktop from a single code base. Okay, so in this video series that we're going to have is we are going to concentrate on creating mobile applications. But what are you going to take note is that Flutter is not only limited with mobile application and creating mobile applications, but also with web and desktop application. Okay, and in mobile, we are not also limited only to Android, but also with iOS apps. Okay, and all of those apps that we could create from Flutter, they all come from a single code base. Okay, so therefore we just follow the mantra also of Java that we are just going to write once, then run anywhere. Okay, so this is actually the main advantage of Flutter compared with Android Studio or Swift or whatever different platforms or frameworks. Since with just a single code base, we could then create different apps in different platforms. Okay, so we're just going to limit our discussion with what is Flutter here. Okay, because again, if ever that you want to have some more details about Flutter, just navigate through flutter.dev, then you could read more details now on what Flutter is. Because as of now, we are now going to directly go with our coding. And how are we going to write our very first app with Flutter? Okay, so to create a Flutter application is first we are going to open our command prompt. Okay, so from here is we are going to issue the command Flutter create, then I'm just going to call it Flutter 101. So what we are doing here is we are going to create an application inside the folder Flutter 101. Then press the enter key. Then Flutter is then going to create the project. First, it is going to create a folder named Flutter 101. Then it is also going to create the files that are needed so that we could develop our very first Flutter application. Okay, so as you can see here, it has created 129 files inside Flutter 101. And if ever we're going to issue here the command dir, we could see here's Flutter 101. So you can see here it is a directory or a folder Flutter 101. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to get inside our directory. So we're going to issue the command cd, meaning change directory, then the name of our folder 101, enter. So as you can see in our prompt, this shows that we are now inside the folder Flutter 101. And if ever we're going to issue again the command dir, then we could see here the files and folders created by Flutter when we issue the command Flutter create. Okay, so never mind what are these files as of this moment. So what are we going to do next is we are going to open this folder with Visual Studio Code, which is our code editor. Okay, so how are we going to open Visual Studio Code? By issuing the command code then dot. Okay, when I press the enter key, it is now going to open Visual Studio Code. Okay, so we have a lot of things here. Now we have a lot. These are folders and these are files, so that we are not going to be overwhelmed by all of these. We are going to have them one by one. Okay, so first of all, where is our file? So our file is actually on the lib folder, particularly main.dart. Okay, so these are the code. This is the code created by Flutter for us. Okay, so it has a demo code, okay, located in our main.dart. Okay, these are the content. Again, never mind if ever you could not understand as of this time, so just never mind. Okay, so next is we are going to okay, we're going to run our demo code. Okay, so we're just going to close this one. Then we are going to open our terminal. So Control J, or just click on terminal, then new terminal. Then after that, we are going to issue our first command here on how are we going to run this code created by Google. So we're just going to wait for a while. Then we could then issue our command here at the terminal. Okay, so we're not ready. So to run our code is we're going to issue again Flutter, then run. The command here is run. Now, what we're going to do today is we are going to run our application in our emulator. So we could use actually the browser, the desktop, or an Android emulator so that we could run our app. And due to some hardware constraint, I am going to use the desktop emulator. Okay, so when I click run, no, I press enter key. Now by issuing the command flutter run, Flutter is going to ask us what would be the emulator that we're going to use. So as of now, in my case, I have only 3 emulators. Now we have the Windows desktop, Google Chrome, and Microsoft Edge. I have not installed Android emulator in my device, as I've said, due to some hardware constraints. So I'm just going to select one, or the desktop. Okay, I press 1. So in your case, if ever you want to use the Edge, so just select any of the numbers here. So as you can see here now, it is now building a Windows application. Because what we're going to do here is we are just going to actually run this code that we have here. Okay, so we are going to wait for a while. Okay, so we have here now our the result of this code. It is now running in my emulator, which is actually a desktop application, Windows desktop application. Okay, so I'm just going to arrange them, our my windows side by side, so that I have here on the left side we have our okay, the left side is our code, then our emulator is on the right side. Okay, am I still okay? So what does this code do? Okay, so as you can see here, we have just a text. So you have push the button this many times. So how many times? So you have now 0 times. Then I have here a floating action button. So whenever I'm going to click on this, so it's just going to actually increment the count here. Okay, so with this code that we have, this is the only thing that it does. It just increment the count every time that we are going to click on the button. But how does it increments the count here, so never mind. So as you can see here, we have here a lot of code, so that you will not be overwhelmed again. So we're just going to discuss them one by one. So first of all, I'm going to remove all of these, okay, and just leave these lines of codes here, okay, because these are the only things that we need as of this moment. Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to take note is the import statement here. So it is just going to import actually the material that Dart, or the material library in which we are going to use later on. Okay, so this is the material UI library created by Google. So if you're familiar with the material design in our CSS framework, in our web development, so same UI will be used by Flutter, since also Google also created Flutter and the material design. So same UI design will be used in this project that we have. Okay. Okay, so next is we have the method main. Main is just actually the same with our main with Java. Now it is the entry point of our app. So when we are going to run, every time that we are going to run our app, it is going to look for the main method, and it's going to run whatever command that we have written here will be executed. Okay. Then we have here the run app. Okay. So the run app command, so inflate the given widget and attach it to our screen. Or it is going actually to run, by its name alone, it implies that it's going to run the application named my app. Okay, so it is actually, it is here that where we are going to start now. So as you can see, my app, the call to my app results to an error. Why? It is said my app isn't a class, okay, or it actually doesn't find the class name my app. So that is why it has resulted into an error. So what we're going to do now is we're going to first create our very first method, our very first class with our application here. Okay, so I would suggest that you are going to install Flutter widget snippets, okay, so that it is going to help us to create our code snippets. Instead that we are going to type each of those very long commands. For example, the structure of the class in Flutter, instead we're going to type all of those, we're just going to use a code snippet. Okay, so here in my case, I'm just going to use FST. Okay, since I'm going to create, just wait for a while. Okay, so we are now going to select either we're going to create a stateful or stateless widget. But before else, what's the difference between a stateful and a stateless widget? So stateless widgets are widgets whose state would not change during the life cycle of its existence on our app. And stateful widgets are those widgets that could change its state during its life cycle. So for example, if ever that trying to have a text or a string, for example, this one here, this is a stateless widget. Why? It is because it doesn't change its value or its state all throughout the life cycle of our app. But here, it is also a text, but it is a stateful widget since it changes its value when we click on the button here. So therefore, the state of this widget here changes when we click on the button. So therefore, it is a stateful widget. Okay, so first of all, we're just going to have the stateless widgets. Okay, so when I press on the enter key, the code snippet, my code snippet library now automatically created this code for me. Okay, so instead we are going to write everything, we are going to code everything here. So we're just going to use the code snippet extension. Okay, so we have here defined a class named main, but what we are going to have here is we're just going to create a class named my app. So here I'm just going to change this to my app, then also the other one. Okay, so here we are creating here actually a class named my app, and it inherits or extends all the properties and methods of the stateless widget. Okay, then we have here our constructor. So as of now we could not still use this one, but as we go along in the next videos that we're going to have, or the next topics we're going to have, so we are going to use the constructor here. So that is why you need a basic understanding of some OOP or the object-oriented concepts, so that it would be easier for you to learn this Dart language. By the way, we are using here Dart language created also by Google. Then in every widget that we're going to create, so it has a build method. Okay, so as you can see here, it returns a widget. Okay, so we are going to override the default build method of the stateless widget. Okay, so here as you can see, it returns a container. Okay, so container here is actually a widget. Okay, but before anything else, we're going to try. So as you can see, we have edited our code. Now we have created our class here named my app. So we are now going to run our app. Okay, so there is this what we call as hot reload with Flutter. So here at the terminal, I'm just going to press R, and it should reload. Now whatever is the state, the current state here, then it is going to reload. Now it is, must have whatever changes we've created here must be reflected now in our emulators. I'm going to press here R. No, not yet. We're going to save it first. Okay, so save, then reload. So you can see here it turns into a black page. So this is actually our container. So the black thing that we could see here is actually the container widget. Okay, so since we are going to get the material design, as I've said, the material UI, so our very first widget here, the highest in the hierarchy, must be our material app. Okay, it is a material app. Then our material app contains a home property. The home property is actually the very, or let's say, here a definition. Okay, it requires a widget for the default route of the app. So the default route or the default home page. Okay, so I'm just going to give here now. I'm going to create here a scaffold widget. So again, what is a scaffold widget? A scaffold widget is actually, oh, we don't have the definition here, so I'm just going to have, now this blue wavy underline is actually tells us that we are going to use, to remove that, we're going to use the constructor. So for our scaffold, this is the basic structure actually, creates a visual scaffold for material design widgets. The very basic structure of our app. This is provided by scaffold from, as I said, for our material design widgets. And our scaffold here, we are going to, it has an up bar. But before going with the up bar, let us try first. Again, I'm going to save this one. Then I'm going to have a hot reload. So as you can see here, we have now a white page. Okay, this is now actually represented by our scaffold. Okay, so the white thing that you can see here is our scaffold. And by the way, our scaffold actually has this what we call as our up bar. So what is our up bar? The up bar is actually the thing that is here on top. No? With our previous example, you have seen here the blue, something blue in the background plus a text. Okay, that was actually our up bar. Okay, so as you can see here, our up bar requires an up bar. Okay, so we have here a widget named up bar. Okay, so and our up bar has a property called title. Okay, then our title, as you can see here, it requires again another widget. Okay, so what is now the widget that we're going to use to display a text? Okay, so it is text widget. Okay, then I'm just going to have here, this is the title. Okay, now since there are no changes that we have created within our scaffold on the one returned with a material app, we should now remove our const command there. Okay, so that the error will be removed. Okay, so if we're an up bar, then this is the text or title. So now what you're going to take note here is that every closing parenthesis you're just going to put a comma, so that whenever I'm going to save the changes, it is going to automatically format my code or code into a more readable one. Okay, so I have now created here an up bar. So I'm going to save my code, then reload. So you can see here, this is now our up bar. Okay, so just a review. So I have here the highest widget in the hierarchy is we have our material app. It has a home property. So we have here now our home page, let's say, is we have here our scaffold. Okay, and within our scaffold it requires we have an up bar. Okay, an up bar requires an up bar widget. So we have here our up bar widget, and an up bar widget requires a property named title. So that is why here we have assigned here a title with a widget text and the string, this is the title. Okay, so I want you to take note of the small a up bar and the capital A up bar. Okay, so the capital one, this is our widget and this is our property. Okay, so as you can see here, this is another property. So the white ones are the properties and the blue ones are our widgets. Actually, the material app, scaffold, up bar, and text are actually all widgets. Okay, and by the way, so that we could remove the debug text here, we are going to hide that by setting the debug show check mode banner into false. Okay, save, then reload. So it's now gone. Okay, so we have here our up bar. Then another thing for our scaffold that we need to fill up is the body. Okay, body is actually here. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to write here, I'm going to assign here a text, and I'm just going to show, alright, this is the body. Okay, then I'm going to save, then reload. So as you can see here, we have now a text or a string written on the body. This is the body. So both the title and the text here are both text widgets. Okay, so for example, I'm going to write another code just below, another string just below this is the body. Okay, so let us say I'm going to write, this is the second line. Okay, but as you could see here, it returns an error. Okay, so it is said too many positional arguments, 0 expected but 1 found. Okay, so what's the reason of that? So if ever that we're going to go back to our body, I'm going to point on the body, it requires a widget, only a single widget. So therefore, if ever that we are going to write here more than one widgets and to the body property, it is going to return an error. Why? It's because it only expects a single argument. Okay, so therefore we should not write, or we should not create another widget after the first widget that we have written in our body property. So what are we going to do so that we could have more than one widget in our body? So what are you going to take note here is there are widgets in Flutter that could contain other widgets. Okay, so we are going to have more of them as we are going to have our topic on the layout. So as of now, I'm just going to have here a column widget. Okay, and as you can see here, the column widget contains a children property. Okay, so it is here, as you can see here, square brackets, so therefore it is an array. So therefore a column widget could contain multiple widgets. Okay, so it is here now where I'm going to have the text widget, then the string. This is the first line, then comma, another widget, still text with a string. This is the second line. Okay, then I'm going to issue comma, save. It is now formatted. As you can see here, it's now formatted to a more readable ones. Then as I'm going to reload, so you can see here now the 2 lines. Okay, actually you could add some more. For example, I'm going to add another one, text, then this is the third line, then comma, save, reload. So you can see here the 3 widgets in our body. Okay, so that's how are we going to do now. That's the technique. If ever you want to have multiple widgets into our body, so we're just going to use a container widget. So column is a container widget. When I say container widget, it is a widget that is going to contain more than one or more widgets. Okay, now as you can see here, we have the column, the end of column and scaffold. So that it will be properly formatted, I'm going to have a comma right after the last the parentheses, the end, the close parentheses of the column, so that when I'm going to save it, it is going to be automatically formatted. Okay, so this is now the very basic structure of our code with Flutter. Okay, so again, just for our review, so we have here our import statement, then our main method, and our home page. Okay, so what we have so far is we have the material app. Okay, the highest widget in our widget hierarchy, or widget tree. Then we have our scaffold, which belongs to the material app, and our scaffold contains an up bar and a body. Okay, and our texts, actually all of them belongs to our body. Okay, so in the next video we are going to a deeper look on the scaffold. What is important for today's video is you have understood on how are you going to write, or you have now a full understanding on the structure of the basic code of Flutter. Okay, so I hope you understand everything, and I'll see you on the next video.